Happy Thursday, everybody, and welcome to episode 81 of the Sneider Cut. I am your jacketed host, Jeff Sneider, senior film reporter at Collider, and with me today is a friend of the show, John Rocha, the outlaw himself. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing good. 81's a special year. A lot of good movies came out in 81, Chariots of Fire. So I'm excited to be here for you, brother man, and have fun conversation about things. Thanks for having me back.
Weren't you born in 81?
Yes, born in 81. Absolutely, yes.
1881, right?
Oh, nice. Way to walk me into that one, smart ass. All
right. All right. Well, I sent you the run of show, although I sent it to you about 30 seconds before you hopped on the stream, so it's not exactly fair. But let's start with the Oscars, right? Since that's what everybody was sort of breaking down this week. There were the postmortems until, like Wednesday, and by Thursday we've all moved on and forgotten about who won. So what did you think of the show, first of all?
I have to say I'm of two minds of the show. It was one of the most diverse shows ever in terms of the nominees, in terms of the people there, in terms of the films that were being nominated for these awards. So on that side of things, it's a drum I've been banging for many, many years. So to see it happen finally in such a powerful way was great. But by the same token, the way they ended that show, the kind of hubris of the producers. Look, I love Steven Soderbergh. I love Stacey Sher. I love the work that they've done. But the hubris of these producers, Jeff, to kind of take such a colossal gamble in this situation that led to them falling on their face. I just don't understand why you take a chance like that in any way, shape, or form, especially in essence, on the body of a great actor's death, a black actor's death. I just don't understand the logic of it. They should have let it be where it was. And if they'd gone for Hopkins, which apparently was kind of like building over the weeks, then you could have saved it by Chloe Zhao. You could have saved it by having Nomadland win Best Picture. It just, to me, felt like such a misstep by people who you'd expect to be a little bit more smarter about these situations, and usually are.
You say it was like a gamble, and it was in a sense, but in a way it wasn't, because every single expert pretty much was predicting a Chadwick Boseman. He'd won all the awards on all the gambling sites. He was like a plus gajillion favorite, a minus gajillion favorite, I should say. And it was just like, it seemed like it was an inevitability. That's how shocking this Anthony Hopkins win was. Now, in the last few days leading up to the show, there was some talk among the trades reporters that this may have been in the offing. Yeah. So maybe at that point, I understand where it's like Best Picture is what it was what the Oscars should culminate into, and you should have a whole big group up there celebrating their group achievement, which is what making movies are all about. It's not about the individual. Right. Like, this would have been a beautiful moment had Chadwick won, I think, which is why I can't get too angry at them. But you're right, it backfired big time.
Yeah, and I don't know how. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry, Jeff.
I'm done.
I was gonna say so. I don't know how you bank on the Academy doing the right thing, Jeff. Where in the history of that Academy have they consistently done the right thing in selecting the person of color over the white person in contention for the award? You three on FYC jumped off the walls at Green Book winning, and it was one of the most horrific films to win, one of the most lifetime movies about racism, and there were other films way more qualified to win. But once again, the Academy went for the let's make ourselves feel good choice, and it was ridiculous. And the same thing happened here. Once again, just like Viola Davis losing to Meryl Streep for Florence Foster Jenkins or whatever it was. Ridiculous. So the Academy does not have a strong track record to make a gamble like this. So in the end, no matter how much we think we've advanced, there are still people who kind of choose one way or the other. I'm not trying to cast aspersions.
Is a black and white thing?
I think there's a possibility of it. Sure. Why do we think it wouldn't?
Do you think the right thing would have been just giving it to Chadwick because he's black?
I think a lot of people choose certain choices in certain moments because of what's happening. Now, that doesn't mean to denigrate who gets award, who doesn't get award. I'm not saying that, but you can't tell me that every single person who's ever voted for every award has done it from a purely artistic place. You just can't.
I think you're right.
It's not humanly possible.
I'm not naive enough to think that.
Right. I'm just wondering how much might be worked into this situation, how much might be here. But by the same token, I'm not trying to take away Anthony Hopkins. Certainly an incredible performance.
Right. I mean, that's the thing. There were 3 people really who were deserving, and you could argue Steven Yeun as well. I don't think Gary Oldman was. But I think there were 3 people deserving. I was surprised that if they didn't go for Chadwick, that they didn't give it to Riz Ahmed, who I think has been fantastic.
Yeah, with Sound of Metal. Yeah.
For 10, 12 years. And like, I just, that's the culmination of his career. Hopkins was great, but I didn't think he was better than Riz. And I borderline with Chadwick. I thought Chadwick was great. If he had won, it would have been deserving. I don't think it would have been because, he's black. I think it would have been because he died.
Well, no. Don't misread me. Yes. Don't misread me. It's not that I think he should have won the award because he's black. Hell no. He delivered an incredible performance. And when you look at the nominees, there were 3 nominees of color, 2 white guys, and they went with the oldest white guy in the group. And the Academy, what's the biggest thing they've been dinging the Academy for years? It is old white men getting to vote for these films and not really understanding what's happening in the more mainstream culture and what they're looking for, what they're liking. And maybe more old white men or old white people, regardless of gender, gravitated to the father more because that's a story they understand. They've seen their parents go through it. They're possibly going through it themselves, or their families going through it. And how many of them were actually watching Ma Rainey's Black Bottom? How many actually were willing to put on a film that is a very black story, a period piece, putting racism in their face? I just wonder how many of them were willing to put themselves through it to give Chadwick Boseman a fair shake. Yeah.
I mean, Ma Rainey, I thought, deserved the Best Picture nomination. And
Agreed.
So we knew from the outset that they did not have the support within the Academy that other awards titles did. I just I look at Riz Ahmed and Chadwick and Steven Yeun. I see 3 young men of color.
Yeah.
Right? And maybe they ended up splitting the vote. And that is what Anthony Hopkins allowed him to sneak in. We don't know whether he won by 1 vote or 1,000 votes, right?
Yeah, and I know that's a controversial stance, and that's why I think every Academy voter should release their votes. I really believe that 1,000%. If you're willing to be a critic and you want all the credit and the status that comes with being a movie critic and a movie pundit for a famous site or a magazine or whatever, then you should also be willing to take the slings and arrows of your decisions, of your votes, and put that out there for people to decide if they want to follow you anymore as a critic.
We put ourselves out there, and the Academy members don't have to because it's a secret vote.
Right.
Besides the completely inane, honest ballots that we do get a look at, where you get to see this is the thought processes of so many people in the Academy, which is just absurd.
And I want to say one last thing. As much as I ding the Academy, I love the Oscars. I grew up watching the Oscars. It was appointment viewing with my family, then by myself or with my friends. Like, it was huge. Had Oscar parties.
It's like
all of that. Yeah, my dinging of it is to make it better. My dinging of it is not to take it away or not have it. It is to make it better. And I want that very, very clear in my criticism.
This year the ratings were down big time. It was, maybe under 10 million or a little bit over 10 million when the final count came in. Which, a few years ago, it was like 40 or 50 million. Or when I was watching, the Oscars in high school, at least it was like 35 to 50 million people.
Yeah.
So I think people are just not as interested in awards these days. I think it's a tough look to see celebrities patting themselves on the back and giving each other awards in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah.
I understand why they didn't want to be too jokey, and strike a little bit of a more serious tone on Sunday. But I also, the show, it wasn't great. Like, as far as, forget about the winners, did you think that they sort of did the best they could in a pandemic with that show? Or like, what would you have done differently? Were the speeches too long? Did you want clip packages, montages?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to celebrate movies, how the hell do you take away clip packages? I just don't understand that. And in a pandemic, why do you care about how long it is, to be honest with you? People aren't going to watch anyway. So you might, none of the award shows that happened during the pandemic have gotten great views. They've all been historic lows. So you knew that going in. So to me, I'm like, great. You want to adjust the show? Fine. Let them do the long speeches for acceptance. Totally great. But throw in the clip package. It's going to go long anyway. Nobody cares since nobody's going to watch. So put it on there for the film fans who are watching, the people who love movies. They are your diehard fans. They want to see the clips. They want to see the packages. They want to see those things because the Oscars is a once-a-year opportunity to fall back in love with movies fully and remember the history of movies. And for me, growing up as a young kid, whenever I watched the Oscars, I would see clips of films that I'd never seen before and go, what is that? And that would make me go search it out. So it's a way of replenishing the love of films and replenishing the cinephiles, replenishing the future movie critics. It's a way of doing that, and I just think they dropped the ball by trying to make it too slick and too hip and too funny instead of making it also reverential to the medium of film.
I was surprised they didn't bang the drum more for the returning to theaters thing, and that may be because maybe these studios don't really give a shit one way or the other, and they just want stream. You know, it's all about streaming these days, and they're content to let that business die off. I mean, I think that would be short-sighted and stupid. Yeah. But I was surprised that there wasn't more about the magic of a movie theater and that kind of thing.
Agreed.
Do you have any other final thoughts on the Oscars before we move on?
No, just shout out to every person of color who won. So many great surprises, so many fantastic steps forward. I mean, Chloe Zhao was the first woman of color, but also the only second woman to ever win Best Director. That is fantastic in terms of moving the goalposts, moving the ball forward on a football field here for the Oscars. And I'm proud of that. I'm proud that they're listening. I'm proud that the people they brought in over the last 5 years have really affected these awards and where they're going, open the eyes more of this Academy. And whatever we want to ding it for, we're at least moving forward. And next year, I hope it to be better. And the year after that, better and better. So it's more reflective of our overall society and the overall composition of our society. And that's a good thing. So as much as I may ding it, I have hope for the future.
And we saw Daniel Kaluuya win, Yu Jung win for Minari. I thought, she was particularly well-deserved. What did you think of Frances winning her third statue over Viola and
Tough for me because Viola was incredible in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, put on that weight to play the character, really dived into the role. And I thought Frances delivered one of the classic Frances McDormand performances. So it's a very difficult situation. I honestly could have gone either way with both of them. Although I felt like Viola Davis, it was her time. She was due. She's come so close so many times. She's an incredibly powerful actress. And she's lost twice now to these icons of iconic actresses, iconic white actresses with Meryl Streep and Frances McDormand. And so it's just a shame that she keeps coming away empty-handed, and she doesn't betray any sadness when she loses. So she's a classy woman inside and out, and I think she deserves an Oscar. And I hope one day we'll see her have one because it's so similar to Angela Bassett, who delivered many incredible performances.
She won, but it was for supporting, right?
Right, for supporting, right. The best actress carries a certain weight to it. You know that. So.
Sure, of course. No, I get it. We can move on from the Oscars, although there's a related story this week, just really quickly. Leonardo DiCaprio got the remake rights to Another Round, and if all goes well in the development of that one, he's going to star in it. It would be a very different type of role for him. What did you make of that news?
I hated that news, bro. I hate anything where it's like, this film just came out. It just got nominated. It's just out. But let's Americanize it. Come on. These are great films. Let's drag Americans to see these films. Let's make more of a deal. Now you're just going to remake this so you can give it more exposure. And to me, I'm not a fan of that kind of stuff. I rarely see American remakes of foreign films succeed. So to me, it's just frustrating on so many levels. But I get it. DiCaprio sees the possibility of another Oscar hanging there if he nails that performance. So we'll see.
I mean, I'm with you. You and I are both two people who can watch movies with subtitles.
Yes.
Fortunately, the truth is that, there just aren't a lot of people who do that. Like, I don't know how many people, maybe my youngest brother will watch like foreign TV shows.
Right.
But, I can't get my dad to watch a foreign show, maybe Narcos at best.
Right.
And so Another Round, which is a good story, there are things I don't love about it, but that's a good story that, he would never see. And so now with Leo in it, he'll get a chance to watch it if they end up doing it. I mean, it's a movie so, part of like that Danish culture and that kind of thing. Like that, the original title is Druck, which means binge drinking.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know if that'll necessarily translate to America. We'll see.
Did you like Cold Pursuit? That's another remake of a Dutch for the Liam Neeson
In Order
one.
of Disappearance.
Yeah, I love the Order of Disappearance. It was Cold Pursuit was okay.
One was better.
Yeah, that's the thing at the end. The same thing.
They're almost always better. Like, Miss Bala, the original Sleep.
Right.
Jamie Foxx, Sleepless.
Yes.
One, there's a whole, there's a zillion of them.
Girl with Dragon Tattoo. So much better Numi Rapace than anybody else who's ever played Salander.
I agree with you. We're going to talk about Viola Davis in a little bit, but first, the big news story of the week was Captain America 4.
Yeah.
The announcement, and this came I think it was the same day that Falcon and the Winter Soldier aired its finale. Malcolm Spellman and Dalen Musan, forgive me if I mispronounced that, are going to be writing this. Do you think that Malcolm Spellman's a good choice after Falcon and the Winter Soldier? Do you want to see Anthony Mackie, get a Captain America movie, or do you want? I mean, Chris Evans has been rumored to return to the MCU. Do you hope he's more involved in this?
No, I think I've moved on from Chris Evans in my mind mentally.
Yeah.
I love what Anthony Mackie did over these 6 episodes of Falcon and Winter Soldier. He really came into his own as an actor. Of course, he'd done great work in other films and other projects rather beforehand, but there was something about the maturity of how he played Sam Wilson, the calmness, the patience, the understanding, the empathy, the vulnerability. It was all here. I mean, those conversations with him and Carl Lumley, that's a class in acting. That's an acting class that you can watch and take as you watch 2 different generations of black actors discuss something that has resonance in real life in our world. And so all of what he did was incredible here. Malcolm Spellman, I felt, I'm wondering how to judge this series, because obviously we heard before the series started that this had originally been 10 episodes. They had to make some adjustments to the storyline with the Flag Smashers.
Affected by the pandemic, for sure.
Yeah, affected by the pandemic. So to me, in my mind, I think Malcolm Spellman did the best he could with what he had. But in the end, I also felt like he dropped the ball a little bit on the PTSD stuff. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more with Walker's wife, her relationship with Walker, how that kind of decorated how he reacted to things. And so I thought there were some drop balls here. But overall, I think he's absolutely earned the chance to do and write a Captain America 4 film. And I love Sam Wilson as Captain America, and I'm excited to see what they do with it. I hope they make some adjustments to the costume. It's a little more bulkier than you would anticipate, so hopefully they make some adjustments for the film. But I'm excited for it. I think he more than deserves it now.
I'm delighted to see Mackie as Captain America, as I have, trumpeted last Friday. I've always wanted to see Mackie play Captain America, dating back to before Chris Evans was cast as Captain America. Okay, when they were struggling to cast the original Cap, Mackie was my suggestion, and I even had mock art drawn up for him in the suit, and he ended up getting cast as Falcon. Yeah. So it was kind of like a dream come true. I know Anthony a little bit, and I think he's a terrific actor. Yeah. He did do a really good job on Falcon and the Winter Soldier, although at the end of the show, when I looked back on it, I do think, like you said, Malcolm Spellman kind of dropped the ball. I just had a lot of plot holes and questions, and I was just like, what was really the point of all this other than to just keep the MCU alive in our imaginations in between these movies? So I hope that Malcolm Spellman, maybe with this co-writer, does the MCU a little bit better justice. But I think that you're right. He did earn the shot. Having done what he did for the Sam Wilson character in this show, he should get the first crack, at least, to write this Sam Wilson's Captain America movie. Yeah, and I hope they find a black director who's going to come in. I mean, getting Ryan Coogler to direct the Captain America 4 after he's done Black Panther 2 would be very, very interesting. Or bring in George Cable Jr. who did Creed 2, bringing him in, or Steve Cable Jr. rather, bringing him in and have him kind of take a look at this. So I think you got to bring a black director in, male or female. I think you have to bring them in to collaborate with Malcolm Spellman and kind of hone a little bit of the stuff that I felt Malcolm dropped the ball on. That would be exciting on so many levels. My friend who's black producer on my channel, he said to me, Sam Wilson does not have a conversation about race with any white person the entire time through the series. And I was like, oh my God, I never even caught that. He's like, yeah, he had it with Carl Lumley and with his character with Isaiah Bradley, but he never has it with that senator, never has it with any. He does the speech, but he never has the back and forth fully about what it's like to be a black man in this country fully. Bucky apologizes, but they never actually have a full-on conversation about it. And I think that's where the series kind of didn't quite get the job done. So hopefully that could be an aspect they throw into Captain America 4. I had issues myself. I had issues myself with like the Flag Smashers and their ultimate agenda and some of the John Walker stuff. I mean, I thought it was an entertaining series that I look forward to watching every week. But in the end, it just felt like more of the same Marvel stuff to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of Malcolm Spellman, him and John Swetnam have done the latest draft of this Vin Diesel movie, Muscle. He's been attached to this for a little while. He just got F. Gary Gray to direct. Now, they worked together on F8, The Fate of the Furious, and that is like the craziest set. I've heard some crazy stories about that set, including some stories about F. Gary Gray. Are you surprised that Diesel and the F8 director would get back together, or do you feel like maybe they established some trust and some shorthand there?
Yeah, probably. And, look, Vin's going to go. I think it's smart move by Vin to go with a director who already knows, he already understands, and I thought Fate of the Furious was a fun movie for what it was for that series. So I thought F. Gary Gray did a nice job. And he's got a history of doing great work throughout as a director.
He's a very solid director.
Yeah, exactly. So why even his misses have great stuff within them, So I think this is a right move for Vin. And of course, Vin is getting up there, bro. I mean, you can be an action star. I guess you can go until Liam Neeson into your 70s, but when you get up there, you really want to work with people that you understand, people that you have some kind of comfort with. And look, Bloodshot was horrible. So, outside of the Fast and Furious movies, he does not do well, really, overall. And don't give me that Guardians of the Galaxy stuff. He's just saying a lie. Right. It's more about him being on camera. And so why not go with someone who understands who you are, understands how you work, and can get better work out of you for something outside of Fast.
Part of me was surprised F. Gary Gray would want to do this. Like, would this? Maybe he's a little hard up because I don't think he's really lined up much since that giant movie. But at least he knows what he's getting into this time around.
Yeah.
When you're working with Vin Diesel's calling the shots on these movies, right?
Exactly.
That is just to be expected with the start of his level. All right. Gloria Estefan as the mother in Father of the Bride. This is something that I said on the podcast last week. Sure enough, it hit deadline a few hours later the next day. What do you think of a Cuban-American Father of the Bride movie?
This is great. Representation. We're in this country too, ladies and gentlemen. We have just as many weird stories as everybody else. So why not have us be a part of this and do this version of it and make it funny? I hope, I imagine they're just using the bones of the story and then really filling it in with cultural stuff that'll be funny. That'll be universal but still distinct to
it's Matt Lopez, who's like doing a zillion of those kinds of projects. I think he's got a real feel for it. Do you think Andy Garcia and Gloria Estefan is like a really good anchor, like a Steve Martin, Diane Keaton, like the last one?
I guess I wonder, because I haven't seen Gloria act too much. I don't know about you. I haven't seen her do acting. I mean, I've seen her music videos, but I haven't really seen her do a lot of acting. So I'm curious to see how she does. Garcia, of course, it's a great anchor to the film. It's going to be great to watch him play this character. But how much of a role will Gloria Estefan play? Is it more of a little bit of stunt casting and then having her be, because she's been very vocal for many years about Cuban Americans in this country, about her culture, about spreading the gospel of her culture. So having her be a part of it, I think, is a very strong sign for the Latin American community and the Hispanic community that they're approaching this with a real understanding of what they want to do with it to appeal to that community as well as an overall community of filmgoers.
So Adria Arjona is playing the bride. She's Puerto Rican. This is supposed to be a Cuban-American family. Is there any issue there? Any issue? Or is it listen, there's not a lot of, the truth is, there's just not a lot of Cuban-American actors.
Yeah.
Maybe famous actors, I should say.
I mean, that's the thing at the end of the day. I think we're going to get to that point where it has to be distinct. For example, Tony Plana has been from every Latin country in the history of his career. So you get to this point where, okay, we're opening the doors. Studios are being more open to having us do these films and letting us do these films and greenlighting these films. So let's not get too caught up with this just yet, unless it's like a distinctly Cuban story. I think, something like Fidel Castro or something like any of the refugees from Cuba, stories like that. I think that's where you cast a Cuban actor. Something like a lighthearted comedy. I don't think it's going to be that worrisome for people overall.
This was an interesting one. Stephen James and J.K. Simmons doing this project, National Champions. Stephen James is going to play like a college quarterback who leads a players' strike 72 hours before a big game as he fights for, equality and that kind of thing. Do you think that this is sort of like the next iteration of sports movies where they all have to have this kind of other like a political agenda, almost like Safety. Did you watch Safety on Disney Plus?
Yes. Yeah.
I love Safety. I thought it was terrific. But do
Yeah.
you think like a lot of these sports movies now are going to have that kind of, those big moments and scenes?
Yeah, well, movies have always reflected our society, right? That's what's happening now in sports. We're certainly seeing where in the past we'd seen player power in terms of negotiating massive contracts for themselves in the 90s into the 2000s. You and I are both fans of basketball. We saw that in the NBA in the 90s, how much they negotiated for their take and their piece of the pie. Now we're seeing them being more politically active. We're seeing these athletes being more aware of the power they have in their communities and the power to affect change in the overall world. And LeBron James kind of leading the way with that. Certainly Dwayne Wade buying a chunk of the Utah Jazz. That's really interesting to see what he's going to do and change the culture of that fan base, all of that. So you're seeing this move forward. Certainly Kaepernick's situation can't be ignored when you talk about this. Mm-hmm. And so we're seeing this more and more. But the NFL is the one place where we haven't seen the player power be as strong. And so this is a curious place to set it in football to see how this plays out overall. And J.K. Simmons is a perfect cast for a guy who's probably pretty upset about the situation happening.
Right. I'm wondering if he's like the coach who is at first is really pissed at his star quarterback, but then becomes supportive, or if he's playing like some NCAA bureaucrat. But either way, I do feel like the college sports movies that we get, whether it's like Blue Chips or even the program, they may not be the greatest sports movies of all time, but they always say something kind of interesting.
Yeah, and there's always a strong coach figure that has something to do with the overall narrative of the movie in a powerful way, either helping things along or being an obstacle that they have to overcome. So it makes sense to go this route.
There was a lot of talk last week about someone suing like Apple and iTunes for the, when you buy a movie, right? Mm-hmm. Technically, you're not really buying it. You're buying it as long as the movie is available on the Apple service, right? Right. Like, what do you make of all that? Because I find it kind of like a fascinating thing. When you click something that says buy or purchase, do you feel like it gives you infinity ownership and permanence, or is it like, would you be upset if a movie that you bought somehow disappeared from your queue?
Yeah, this is a really excellent point you bring up, Jeff, because, and this conversation is very interesting because we just had, I think I'm right on this, Warner Media just announced they're not going to do physical media anymore in terms of Blu-ray or DVDs. One of the major studios, I think
they're definitely scaling back. I don't think that they'll get out of it altogether, but yeah.
Right. But this is something that people like me who love physical media, it's heartbreaking to see that. It's heartbreaking to read that because everything is going to go digital. So it's an excellent point. Like if you're buying this, you would think you own it in perpetuity. It's yours. You bought it. You should be able to download and then have it. But the way Apple works it is you have to have a working Wi-Fi to even have access to this movie in that way. So that's the question you have here is should you be able to own it? And I think you should with physical media kind of going away. Then the digital media becomes in essence the collection you show off to your friends or the collection you have, a virtual collection, right? We see this NFT stuff happening as well. So like there's a way of owning someone's meme for God's sake. So
tangible, right? And physical media there's no fine print with physical media because it's in my hands.
Right.
And I feel like that, Apple is sort of hiding behind that fine print, which is what we all agree to when we use the iTunes store or whatever it is. It's a valuable lesson that this stuff, there is no permanence to it online.
No, and this is what's going to cause more and more app developers to create programs to rip movies because they're going to be able to rip those movies and have people are going to be able to have them because that's that we're rebelling at Apple saying, well, you only have it for as long as we allow you to have it. And, there's humans hate that. If I bought it, it's mine. So.
All right, I want to talk some movies with you. We're about halfway through the show. Did you watch Mortal Kombat?
Yes.
Give me your thoughts. Because all the Sneider brothers have watched it independently.
Okay. Here's what I'll say. When I visited the set when I was working at Collider with you, man, and it was a great set visit. Had a fun time down there talking with the production people, talking with the actors, Louis Tan specifically, genuinely awesome human being. And getting to walk on the set, seeing the costumes, seeing some of the dailies. and hearing some of the music before it was ever released, it was such a phenomenal experience. What a great day in my career, for sure. But the overall vibe I got from everybody we spoke to was this: we love the 1995 original, but we are going to make a better movie. We're making a more serious movie. We're making an R-rated movie. We're making a movie to appeal to a wide audience, and it's going to be breaking that stigma of video game movies. So I came away from that set visit totally excited, ready to see a film that's going to make like a crap ton of money and just be a phenomenal entry in the video game franchise, a video game movie franchise. And in the end, that is not what happened. At the end, we got some terrible scripted moments, some bad scenes. Some of the acting left a lot to be desired, but there was something. I mean, certainly Josh Lawson stole the movie. Hiroyuki Sanada really brought a gravitas and a power to Scorpion. Joe Taslim as Sub-Zero, good stuff as well. But in the end, it was kind of cheesy and not in a good way. I've seen a lot of people say they prefer the 1995 original now because it didn't take itself seriously. And this one took itself too seriously and then undercut a lot of what they were trying to create. And sadly, I would say this, Louis Tan, as much as I enjoy him as an actor, it was not his best performance. And creating a character like that that's supposed to be the audience, and he's kind of milquetoast. He's
bland.
He's bland, I guess. Bland. Yeah, it's not a good situation overall.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of these movies where it's like all set up for the next movie.
Yeah.
And even though I liked Without Remorse, which I want to talk about with you. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but
I'm watching it tonight.
It felt like a 2-hour prologue to a Rainbow Six movie. I don't understand how you build up this idea of a tournament, and then there is no tournament, and you're thinking, well, this is the pre-tournament movie, and then number 2 will be the tournament, and then there's going to be a post-tournament movie number 3. Like, just focus on making one good movie, and I don't think that this was it. To me, it was about as good as Godzilla vs. Kong, where when people were fighting, I enjoyed it, and when they weren't, it was unwatchable.
But I would argue Godzilla vs. Kong was a little bit better because at least Rebecca Hall was believable when she delivered every line she said. You had Stellan Skarsgård, you had Damian Bashir, you had a higher level of actor that was involved.
That's for sure.
That makes the difference, man.
But I also felt like because of that, they probably had a budget that was like 4 times as big as Mortal Kombat. So to me, I actually, literally, if you go to my insider.blogspot.com, they're right next to each other on the disappointments list. And I did swap Mortal Kombat above Godzilla vs. Kong just on the basis of, if you have $200 million and all these great actors, you should be making a better movie.
That's fair.
Mortal Kombat had some handicaps. But yeah, it was a disappointment. I loved Kano. I thought Kano was good. I also loved Sub-Zero. But when your lead is that boring, and there's just, what were the stakes of this? I just didn't.
Yeah, and someone pointed out to me about Kano, as great as the character was, he discovers his power after he says some of the most sexist, racist, homophobic stuff. So you're like, wait, this is how he got his arcana?
Right, he got in touch with his inner self, and that's what it was.
That's not a positive. So it just overall, yes, I know he's a villain, but
it did seem like it was a success. It seemed like a maybe not a flawless victory for HBOMax, but a victory nonetheless. And I think it did fairly well at the box office, given that we're still in a pandemic and people are slowly returning to theaters. So maybe we will get a second movie with Johnny Cage in the tournament.
I would be surprised if we don't get a sequel at some point. It's absolutely going to happen. Yeah.
Okay, so Without Remorse, you're watching later today. Okay, I will tread lightly then. But I thought that Michael B. Jordan was a total badass in this movie, and that Stefano Sollima did a good job with the action sequences, much like he did in Sicario too. Like, the guy's a good director. I think that if he got like a big property, like a Jurassic whatever, or Marvel or DC movie, I think he'd probably do a pretty good job. I just felt like the script let him down here, and that's from Taylor Sheridan, which was a bit of a surprise.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know if Jodie Turner-Smith, I don't think she was maybe the right person for this. I originally heard Cynthia Erivo was going to be the Michael B's co-star in this.
Wow.
Who I think may have been a little bit better. And yeah, I just thought the movie suffered from like a villain problem. But I'll be curious to get your thoughts, once you've seen it.
Is it now? You say this about this director, so I didn't know it was the same guy who did the second Sicario. That one, when you compare it to Villeneuve, there's no comparison. The atmosphere is there, but there are blown moments throughout that movie and storylines that don't make sense for the characters overall. And then a really big decision on whether you go with it or not near the end. But I thought the mood of the action sequences was great, certainly. But, to me, action movie directors, the foundation, like the base level, you should be good at shooting action movies. The great ones understand how to shoot the scenes in between the action sequences that elevate your film beyond the genre that it's in. So to me, that's separate. So if he's got another film where once again the connections or the chemistry or the dialogue or the scenes that are shot don't quite hook you into it as strongly as the action sequences do, then that's a pattern. And what we'll end up with is if you hand him a franchise movie, the same thing will happen like what we saw in Godzilla vs. Kong. Adam Wingard, a damn good director, but it didn't quite get there with Godzilla.
The truth is, I don't think of these studio execs give a shit. I just think
that's fair.
They want those big action moments that they can stick in a trailer and make people show up. And then if they don't like it or don't like the story, that's on them.
Fair point.
If the guy can direct an action sequence, that's for sure. I think you're right that it is those moments in between that define a great action movie, and that's why I think that this one fell short. And I promise you this, if it was a great action movie, there's no fucking way Paramount's selling it to Amazon.
Yeah.
Right now. Like, they're not letting go of Top Gun or Mission Impossible or anything.
That's what worries me for Tomorrow War, because that trailer did not excite me, bro.
Yeah, well, I don't even know what is the point of a little tease like that? That's something that Amazon does where there was like 1,000 trailers for the Underground Railroad or something. They actually over trailer. I think I wouldn't have released that Tomorrow War thing. I would have gone with like a full thing that explains the premise and it was off J.K. Simmons or something. I don't know. It was. You're right. It wasn't good. Other movies this week. Did you watch The Kid Detective?
No. What is that?
Highly recommended. Highly recommended. Starring Adam Brody from The O.C. Coming off a turn in Promising Young Woman. He just plays he was a boy prodigy detective, who used to solve the crimes of who stole my lunch money and things like that.
Right, I saw this trailer.
Someone brings a murder, and I thought it was very, very, very good. And that director, somebody should be working with. Like, I don't think he's announced a new thing. Golden Arm.
On Netflix? Is that on Netflix? Or
it's a 99-cent rental on iTunes.
Okay.
99-cent movie of the week.
Right.
Golden Arm came out this week. This is a movie starring Mary Holland from Happiest Season.
Yes, the arm wrestling movie.
Arm wrestling, yes. Written by my friend Jenna Milley. I enjoyed it. Like,
really?
Yeah. Okay. I had fun with it.
They offered me a screening link, and I was like, I don't know if anyone's going to watch it. If you say it's good, then I'll get it. All right.
I mean, I thought it was a fun indie comedy. I know what I'm getting into. It was a little, goofy at times or whatever, but ladies arm wrestling. If you like Glow, I think you'll have fun with this. All the personalities and stuff.
Yeah, I like Mary Holland. I have a soft crush on Mary Holland, so I would love to see. She's very funny, and she does those AT&T commercials for a little bit. But she's done whenever she pops up in TV shows or movies, she delivers a great performance. In Veep, she was fantastic.
Her co-star is good in this. It's like Betsy Soldano. Okay. And she is like, like a force. She's like a Fortune Femmes Melissa McCarthy type, like a Zach Galifianakis almost. She was very good.
All right. And is that a rental as well, or is that out on something?
That'll be on VOD, I think, this weekend. There's another movie on VOD, Murder, Barry Win, that I saw about three friends who create, a murder sort of horror board game. And I mean, it was just very cheap and low budget. It wasn't terrible, but left something to be desired. And then I watched some old movies this week, John. Last night I watched Ransom.
Oh, give me back my son!
Totally holds up. What a great movie! Like, do you have fond memories of Ransom?
Here's what I'll say. I liked Ransom, but I saw that twist coming a mile away, and so it kind of a little bit ruined it for me. But overall, it's a powerhouse performance from Mel Gibson, and I know people listening or watching have their feelings about Mel Gibson. Totally respect that, but it's a great performance from him. I love Delroy Lindo in the movie.
Yes, he's so good.
He rarely gets a chance to play these kinds of roles, so it's always fun to remember, hey, he was doing stuff before Defy Bloods, people. He's had quite a career. Yeah. So it's great. Rene Russo, fantastic. Gary Sinise, and shockingly, Lily Taylor. Lily Taylor, the indie darling in this film, was so weird.
They're all so good. Donnie Wahlberg and Liev Schreiber as brothers. Nick Nolte's son I thought was really good.
Yeah,
yeah. He's not chained to a bed. It's a great movie, Ransom. But you know what? It's not available anywhere on streaming. I had to call in a favor. Yeah.
Wow.
Call
Ron Howard.
Yeah, exactly. I have Ron Howard and Brian Grazer on video saying to Justin Kroll, I got them to tape personalized messages. They say, Justin, you got to ask yourself, is today Jimmy Shaker Day?
That's awesome.
I also watched the Pusher trilogy, or most of it. I still finish on number 3. But have you ever seen that?
No, I haven't. That's one that's on my list of things to watch for sure. A lot of people speak highly about that trilogy. Are you enjoying it so far?
Yeah. I mean, it was Mads Mikkelsen's like first thing he ever did or something like that.
Right.
So he's so young and he's crazy in it. And also Kim Bodnia, who's in Killing Eve. He's the handler.
Oh, I love him. He's in that?
He's the lead of the
You just sold me, bro. You just sold me, bro. Now
worth tracking down. Those are from Nicholas Winding Refn, who did Drive, of course.
Drive.
All right, some trailers this week. Well, let's start with the big ones from the Oscar. West Side Story.
Woo! Let me tell you something. I did a trailer reaction for my channel about this because I don't do a lot of them, but certain ones I want to do. This one because there is no person on the planet who wanted this film less than I did, because I'm like, why do I care what yet another older white dude's got to say about this thing? We already saw it with Robert Wise and Jerome Robbins. This is a Latino gang versus a white gang. Let me see it from a Latino point of view. Let me have a Latino director get involved in this, or Latina director get involved in this. So I was hesitant, really hesitant. Plus, the first film won 10 Oscars. So I was like, how are you going to improve on that? And we saw the debacle that the most recent remake of Ben-Hur was. So I was worried. And Steven, a lot of people didn't like Ready Player One. But this trailer was stellar, man. It completely won me over. I'm on board. Bright colors, really beautiful sequences throughout the movie. You get the vibe of 1957 New York. You've got kids that look like the age that they're supposed to be for this. You've got all these Latina and Latino actors involved on the shark side of things. Very, very exciting. I wonder how people are going to take the Ansel Elgort thing. Are they just going to brush that away?
I think there's a room full of publicists working on that right now.
I'm sure there is. What did you think, man?
I thought it looked great, and I say that as someone who doesn't have any real affinity for the original West Side Story. It's a movie my mom told me she loved.
Oh, Jesus Christ! God save me, man.
I thought the trailer looked great and potentially special. I think Stevens wanted to make a musical for a long time.
Yeah.
I think Rachel Zegler looks like someone who could be a real star.
Absolutely.
But like you, I am very curious about the Ansel Elgort of it all and whether that will affect things. Although at the end of the day, I am someone who can separate, the art from the artist. And
yeah. Well, I think it's all subjective. I think everyone removes the art from how many of you listening or watching who are so vigilant about somebody are throwing away your Weinstein-produced movies? How many of you are no longer ever going to watch Good Will Hunting or Pulp Fiction or any of the Tarantino oeuvre? Because in essence, when you're doing that, you're supporting Harvey Weinstein. So these are the things that you have to kind of be a little bit less judgmental of other people on, a little more understanding about how subjective this whole idea of art versus artist is.
When I watch a movie, I don't feel like I'm supporting anyone other than my own entertainment addiction. I don't feel like I'm supporting Kevin Spacey when I watch The Usual Suspects or something. But to each their own.
What about Woody Allen, man? Did you watch that Allen versus Farrow documentary?
I didn't, actually. I didn't.
Bro.
I mean, I can assume what it said.
They have some phone conversations with Woody that are pretty chilling. So just putting it on your radar if you care to watch.
I'm not a big Woody Allen guy. I could have watched that Rainy Day in New York thing. I found a way to get that, but I don't care anymore. Like all these movies that I've seen have been terrible since Match Point. So
yeah, good point. All right.
Midnight in Paris was okay. All right, we talked about the Tomorrow War. Did you watch the little ad for Physical, the Rose Byrne Apple show?
No, I haven't seen that one yet. A friend told me about it yesterday, so I'll watch that one. Did you like it?
I love her as an actress. I think she's a delight. So I would totally watch a half-hour Apple series with her. We got a little taste of Nine Perfect Strangers during the Oscar cast, the Hulu show with Nicole Kidman doing a very weird accent.
Yeah.
But a great cast for that show. I'm looking forward to that. Another trailer for In the Heights. We've gotten 3 or 4 different trailers for that. That's going to be a big hit this summer. Are you excited for that?
I did. I saw it already. It's incredible.
Oh, that's right. You got the early access.
I did. I campaigned a little bit. I rarely do that, Jeff. I campaigned on Twitter about it, and I was very lucky.
For the movies that you love.
Yeah, I'm starting to lose more and more of my shame because, you got to do what you got to do to get access to certain things. And I think as a Latin voice in this sphere, I think it's an important voice to have.
What I tell you about closed mouths, John?
They don't get fed. They
don't get fed.
But yeah, and so I got to see it, and yeah, it's incredible. It's so good. It's as good as the trailers look, if not better, ladies and gentlemen. So that's what I'll tell you quickly.
Who's the standout performance?
I would say, in terms of, I would say all four of we already saw Corey Hawkins. So the three kind of newer actors in this, the main actor and the two actresses, stellar. Immediately, they should be getting cast in so many things.
Well, Anthony Ramos is the new lead in the Transformers franchise.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. Ramos would be fantastic. He was really good in this. And I listened to the Lin-Manuel Miranda version of the stage version where he played Anthony Ramos's character, and Anthony Ramos absolutely does a way better job with it. And so that tells you, like, this is a guy with extreme amount of talent who is going to go far. So yeah.
Will it be a Best Picture nominee?
I think it's very, very possible that it'll be a Best Picture nominee. Wouldn't it be? Because it's not coming out, till later this year or next year? When is the date on this? Because it could be.
The 9th is June, isn't it?
Yeah, so it could be battling with West Side Story for Best Picture. Two musicals maybe battling to be which one will be nominated for Best Picture.
Dear Evan Hansen also comes out this fall.
Right,
so that's, I mean, it's the year of the musicals.
We need to celebrate, man. We've been stuck in a house for years. So
we got about 10 minutes left in the show. Are you going to watch the Michael Che show? Are you a fan of his work on Weekend Update?
I am and I'm not, but yeah, I didn't know he had a show. I was watching the Keenan show. It's not bad. It's Keenan. If you love Keenan. But
I like Keenan, but I don't do that.
What about this Michael Che show? Talk to me about this. I don't know much about it.
It's like an HBOMax show. He's gonna. I think he likes pushing buttons. So I think it could be interesting. And he's got half the cast is SNL people too. But I'm gonna
see someone push Che's buttons once in a while. I'm cool if you like to push buttons, but you better be open to having your own buttons pushed every once in a while too.
Right, he is a little notoriously thin-skinned. We saw a trailer for a Gene Smart HBOMax show called Hacks that kind of looked fun. Did you watch that one?
I did watch some this morning on Twitter, off of Twitter. I like this. This looks good. I love Gene Smart.
It looks fun.
She's been so good for decades, bro. So to see her step into this kind of a new role for her, it's exciting to see what she's going to do with it. So it looks like fun. Yeah, absolutely.
They like her on HBO Max between Watchmen and Mayor of Easttown. They're like, we got to get this woman her own show.
Are you watching that? Is it good? We haven't started it because we wanted to wait
Mayor
till
of
3 episodes showed. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. I've seen 5 episodes. We had director Craig Goebel on last week. He's a tough act to follow, but here you are, John. I watch that and stick with it because it's great.
All right, definitely.
Oslo, we got a trailer for this. Ruth Wilson, Andrew Scott, hot priest guy, and that's a movie about the Israel-Palestine conflict and a Norwegian couple that struck the peace accords. Spielberg's an EP on it. I thought it looked interesting.
Okay.
We also got a trailer for C. Waltz's directorial debut, Georgetown. Christoph Waltz, who insisted on a C. Waltz director credit, which I thought actually looked interesting.
Okay.
And then Port Authority, which is this indie movie with Finn Whitehead and Lena Bloom, a transgender actress from Pose, executive produced by Martin Scorsese. I thought that looked interesting too. This is the stuff that I'm planning to check out in the coming weeks.
I like it. I have to take a look at and watch these. If I can recommend something on HBO Max for those people who like to read subtitles, there's a great new real life or true crime documentary that's a 6-part, I think. It's called Pray, Obey, Kill. It's out now. You guys should definitely watch this thing. We just, I think, finished episode 5, episode 5, I think, is this week and running into episode 6 next week. Stellar stuff about this weird section of religious people who this guy who's a reverend there or a pastor there. Both of his wives were killed in his house, and there's a bride of Christ, and there's this triangle, and it follows these two documentarians who are trying to find out how this happened, how this guy convinced the nanny to possibly shoot these people and shoot his wife so that he could be free of his wife to be with someone else. It's so interesting. And they're interviewing this guy's been in jail for 17 years now because they ended up convicting him, and they're finding new evidence that maybe he actually didn't influence this woman to do these things. So it's a fascinating thing if you don't mind reading subtitles. And another one is, which is already wrapped up, The Investigation. That's a fantastic foreign series as well, about the story of the a reporter who was raped and dismembered by this guy who owns a makeshift sub, and they explore how this all happened and how they caught him. So very cool stuff. That's not a documentary. That's an acting thing, but it's or a dramatization. But
we've talked about The Investigation.
Oh, you have? Okay.
I loved it. And what's crazy is that the documentary that tells that story is never going to see the light of day.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I saw it at Sundance. It was incredible, like remarkable.
Wow.
They basically, did a documentary on a murderer and not knowing he was going to murder, right? And they're like talking to him, and then like 2 hours after he finished his interview, he went off on a submarine and killed somebody. The crew of that movie actually revolted against their director and said that they felt taken advantage of. Holy shit. That's why the movie is not going to see the light of day.
Wow.
That is a wild story. So The Investigation, and then Pray, Obey, Kill. I've gotten 1,000 emails for that show.
Yeah.
It did look interesting. I agreed to write up the trailer for them, but I have not watched it myself. Your recommendation is going to go a long way with me, John. I want to watch.
Please, it's good. I love that kind of stuff.
Master of None. You going to watch season 3? Do you watch that?
I am now with Lena. Like, I like this seasons are. This is smart by everybody involved. Like, okay, Aziz took a lot of shit. If we're gonna come back with a third season, let's focus on Lena Waithe. And Lena Waithe, of course, it's not. She's like some wallflower, untalented person. Incredibly talented. So it's a smart move that changes the show a little bit and takes the heat off Aziz, and you focus on Lena and see her journey. And she's always been such an integral and brilliant part of the show. So it's going to be so much fun to see things from her point of view now and what she's experiencing even more.
I'm looking forward to that as well. I'm just glad that show is back, because I do think it's one of the best things that Netflix has ever done. I will miss, having Dev front and center, but I do think that Denise is a worthwhile supporting character to focus, an abbreviated season around. It's a 5-episode thing. One of the episodes is only 20 minutes. I was looking last night. So in the end, it's just over a 3-hour investment for season 3. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that all in one night, basically. All right. We talked about reviews and trailers. Let's see. Is there anything else on your mind, John?
Anything
you want to talk about? The NFL draft tonight.
Yeah, the NFL draft. What do you think? What's going to happen here?
Patriots need a quarterback. It's just about what we want to give up and how high we want to go up in the draft to get one.
Do you like the Teddy Bridgewater trade to the Broncos? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I don't. He's not a quarterback who scares me, and nor are they a team that scares me.
If they don't get a quarterback, are you okay going into the season with Cam Newton?
Yes, because I think he has better receivers, and I do really like what Cam brings to the running game. But he's not the long-term solution.
Look, for all the madness of last year, and you guys having 10 players leave for COVID reasons,
the defense
you still went 7-9, bro. So that's incredible, and that bodes well with the amount of money they've spent to bring in the new talent they've brought in.
I think we have a 10-6, 11-5 team maybe with Cam at quarterback, but it could certainly. I want them to draft quarterback tonight. Sorry, what were you saying about what you wanted to talk about?
Oh, no, I was going to throw out, what's your feeling about this Pebbles spinoff thing with Elizabeth Banks? Like,
oh, God, I forgot to include that in here. I mean, silly, right?
I understand the approach to it, right? I was seeing this on my show, Geek Buddies. Yes, absolutely, this makes sense because a lot of franchises are either rebooting or adjusting to make women their leads, and it's shown up in a positive way in the box office and on the small screen. So okay, great. This is an interesting change. 20 years later, she goes in the Bronze Age, and she's going forward. The thing is, I don't understand why Elizabeth Banks has to voice the character. This is so confusing to me because she's a character in her 20s. You can get plenty of actresses who can slide in and voice the character of Pebbles, who are currently in their 20s and can bring a little more of a realism to that. But not that Elizabeth Banks isn't a damn good actress. She's very good in comedy. but I just don't understand the concept. Bringing someone of color, even America Ferrera voices a white Viking or a Scottish person in the How to Train Your Dragon movie. So why can't you do that? It just seemed odd to me that she's.
I'll tell you why, John. I'll tell you why. You ready? And it ties into another thing that I wanted to bring up, which is that John Mayer is going to be hosting some kind of late night talk show. I don't know. Okay. I mean, listen, it's Rex Chapman hosting a clubhouse there or whatever the hell he just wants. It's that these people, no one is content just being one thing. And they all have to do everything that comes their way. It's greed. It is honest to God greed.
Okay.
I mean, Elizabeth Banks, you're absolutely right. You need to voice Pebbles now in a show. Like maybe if that's the impetus to get it made, if that's what she has to do to collect her producing fees. Like, but it's ridiculous now that they take this talent. Here's John Mayer. Oh, his albums aren't selling as well. Now he's a podcast host. Now he's a TV host. Like everybody's everything now. They're just leveraged into a million different things. That we're signing TikTokers to do like. No one's just content having 10 million people on TikTokers. They need to now launch their own fashion line, and it's fucking Agents Run Wild.
Yeah, it's a new show. I like it. Agents Run Wild. But no, in no way I'm not trying to bash Liz Vance. I'm just saying, as someone who is in the voiceover community, who has plenty of friends in the voiceover community, to me, it's like, why would you have to do the voice? It just doesn't make sense. There are plenty of young actresses.
Yes, it's an open paycheck that's going to go to somebody, and so why doesn't she take it? You're right. She could just produce that show and hire a young, struggling 20-something actress to voice Pebbles. You're right.
Fuck, go get Rachel Zegler.
Why does
I'm sure
Pebbles
Rachel Zegler could kill it.
You're right. It's just ridiculous.
Again, I'm glad that she's doing, but I don't know if it's going to work too, because remember, she rebooted Charlie's Angels and that did not do well. So will she do well with Flintstones? Pebbles, we shall see.
I am no fan of Elizabeth Banks behind the camera. Okay.
No. That's a separate conversation, and one I probably will agree with you on. Yeah, go
real quickly, some up and comer stuff. Caitlin Dever lined up a pair of movies, Ticket to Paradise with George Clooney and Julia Roberts. She's going to be playing their daughter, and then this Brian Duffield movie, No One Will Save You. Noah Centineo lining up a Netflix CIA series. He's the golden boy for Netflix. Yeah. He's got a zillion movies and TV shows with them. Cole Sprouse doing Moonshot for HBOMax. Florence Pugh doing Sebastian Lelio's movie The Wonder, Journey Smollett getting the lead in Bad Robot's Netflix movie Lou, and Thuso Mbedu, who is the star of The Underground Railroad. She is going to be in The Woman King with Viola Davis, replacing Lupita Nyong'o. That's about the African female warriors. So, that's 6 actors right there: Dever, Centennial, Sprouse, Pugh, Smollett, and Thuso Mbedu, who, are booking jobs. And I always like reporting on the up-and-comers because it's those moves that interest me most. Yeah,
absolutely. I read your article on Dever, good stuff, and it was great to see her kind of moving forward, because certainly she delivered some fantastic performances in 2 completely different type of projects with Booksmart and was it
Unbelievable, yeah.
Unbelievable, incredible stuff. And so seeing her moving forward, I think, is very positive. And Centennial, of course, as you said, incredible. I just got the screening links this morning for Underground Railroad, so I'm definitely going to watch that this weekend and get more exposure to that actress that you were mentioning and see how she does, and see if it excites me to see what she's going to do.
Is Centennial more than a pretty face? Like, is this a guy who you think could really be a movie star in a few years?
I'll tell you, I don't think it matters, because I think the old way of thinking things like you and me used to feel about it, it doesn't work anymore. Pretty comes with more weight and power nowadays than it used to. These actors come in and they have more understanding of how to play this game. They have a more interest in how to expand their brand, how to diversify.
Leverage their social media.
All of it. They're very, very smart about how they jump in now. So they understand they can be, if they were just a pretty face, you're not going to last too long in this town anymore. You got to be a pretty face with a little bit of weight to you in terms of your branding and your diversifying, and that's going to, and your talent, and that's going to keep carrying you through the next thing, because they want status and awards eventually, but it's more about like the power they bring to anything they're involved in.
Okay, well, I think that's a good place to end. Is there any final thoughts that you had, John, this week?
No. I think
anything you want to plug?
Oh, yeah, I'd love to plug if you want to come over and see some of the content I have on the Outlaw Nation channel. Please feel free to do so. It's youtube.com/John Rocha Says. We've got those Geek Buddy reviews for Falcon and Winter Soldier. We're about to start Bad Batch next week with Laura Kelly coming back to be our co-host for those. Then, of course, Loki. MF5 will be back for Loki as well. Also doing a bunch of stuff over there for sports, for entertainment, for news, and for politics. So please come on over there and follow me at The Rocha Says on Twitter and on Instagram. And if you're a cinephile, The Cinephiles, my podcast, is out there with me and Steve Morris, and the Top 10 with me and Matt Nost. That's my life.
Sounds good. You guys know where to find me. In Sneider Plus on Twitter, the world's first premium Twitter account. Keep an eye out for my up-and-comer of the month article coming on Friday. Don't want to say who it is just yet, but the release date should give it away. And then a quick RIP to UTA co-founder Marty Bauer, a legendary agent in this business. That'll do it for the Sneider Cut, episode 81. Thank you, everybody. Keep wearing those masks and washing those hands. Stay safe out there. Thank you to John Rocha, the Outlaw, for joining us. Give my best to Mrs. Outlaw and have a wonderful weekend.